Welcome to State of the State. I'm Darlene D'Arezzo, and I'm in conversation with Alan Waters. Mr. Waters is running for Congress. Election day is coming up next Tuesday, November 5th. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Always glad to be here.
Thank you. And I may call you Alan?
Please call me Alan.
Is this your first time on our show?
This might be my second or third time.
Second or third time, because you've actually run for office previously.
Yes, I ran against Senior Senator Jack Reed in 2020.
Yes.
I ran against David Cicilline in 2022. In both cases, I was the Republican candidate.
Okay, and now you're running for Congress.
Yes, I am.
2024.
Yes, I'm running against U.S. Congressman or U.S. Representative Gabe Amo in the 1st Congressional District.
All right, so what inspired you to go into politics?
Well, you know, I actually got into politics late in life, maybe the last 10 years.
Okay.
I'm just worried about America. We're so divided, but also our country is so mismanaged. We have extreme amount of debt, and we have politicians on both sides of the aisle that don't seem to be having good fiscal responsibility, which is the key, I guess, to our long-term future. Also, the demographics of our nation is changing, and we need to help more people think that they can really participate in the American experience and fully grasp that versus being concerned and being pushed about worrying about things long ago.
Okay, and so the American demographic is changing,
yes.
You said. How so?
Well, you know, when I got into politics maybe 10 years ago, the country would become minority majority in about 35 years. That time is shortening, and that just means that when you add up all the ethnic minorities, that they together they would be in a majority state. But are these people, these diverse peoples, are they ready to take America forward if they have a majority in a democratic republic?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so have you held political office?
Just a micro office.
What's a micro office?
Micro office is I was a library trustee for the town of Mashpee, Massachusetts.
Okay, and you've been on a number of boards.
Oh, yes, I have been on a number of boards. Currently, I'm on Scandinavian Communities in Cranston.
Okay.
But I have served on South Providence Tutorial. I served on the Providence Country Day, and a number of others over time.
Tell me.
I'm trying to think of all the others because it's been a while.
Okay.
But there was a micro lender
that
did loans to some of the people in minority business community in Providence, and I was the president. That would have been in the late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell us about your childhood. What would you like to share about your upbringing and the values that you grew up with and what you hold now?
Those are very important to my politics today.
Okay.
I'm a fourth generation resident of Providence. My father born in Providence, grandmother born in 1903, my father's mother. People came from the French West Indies on one side and people coming up into Providence and from other routes. But the main thing is I'm a son of Providence, born and raised here, Providence Public Schools. My father was a Providence policeman on motorcycle.
Wow.
My mother was a bookkeeper for 25 years at the Wheeler School. A solid working class family, you know, that brought great values, and they gave them to me, and then I give them to my children. I have 5 children, two different marriages, but I do. And the important thing is that you raise your children well, to be good citizens, and that's what was done to me. So this is very important in my politics because we want to send someone that's a representative of the community that really believes in the things that matter, and some of those things just has to do with common values, common sense, traditional American values.
Yeah, tell me, what are some of the values that you hold?
Well, I believe that I believe in things such as many of the Abrahamic, you know, I broadly, we have many different religions, but ultimately I just consider myself a son of Father Abraham. And my father, later in my life, but before he passed, told me that, you know, if you believe in the 10 Commandments, those are the type of things that really you have a lot of what was offered by the higher power that many of us believe in. And so when you bring those things forward, not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal, not, value life from its conception. So we get into these discussions about the life and death of a preborn child and what that matters. And so I just think that all life matters, and it matters at the very beginning, because none of us would be able to argue about being, for instance, pro-life or pro-abortion if we weren't conceived and born.
So where are you on that spectrum there?
As far as politically, I think that President Trump and the decision to push Roe versus Wade back to the states to keep it local is very important. But personally, I just believe that life is precious, and we should try to reduce the amount of abortions that are by convenience. So maybe we just need to work on, hopefully, not finding less women in the place where they have to make such decisions in their life.
Yeah. Do you know what those stats are?
I can only tell you that the stat that, as an African American, as a Black American, we, especially in New England, this Providence area, et cetera, in this South Coast, there's many different subcultures of people mixed with African and European, such as the Cape Verdean community, and perhaps in many of the Afro-Latinos, et cetera. But I just know this: since 1973, over 20 million Black babies have been surgically aborted since 1973, over 20 million. I would say it's a lot higher now, because that statistic's a few years old. But what this means is that, to me, is that in 1960, there was less than 20 million Black people in this country. So I consider that a sort of genocide, just because of the amount of death. I think that an abortion is death. Whether or not it's a choice, whether or not it's legal or not legal, it's just something to at least speak up for. Maybe we can find a better way.
Yeah. Do you think there are circumstances where it is necessary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And I'm not here to stop anything, but we need to have conversations to try to reduce this. This is why I'm more in my position.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's off. Anything else you want to say before we move on to another topic?
No, let's move on.
All right, so what next? Oh, Second Amendment.
I have a license to carry a firearm in 2 states, including Rhode Island. And I believe, whether you're liberal or conservative, I believe you have a God-given right to defend yourself. And under the Second Amendment, which supports that right, I believe that everyone has a right to a firearm, with exceptions perhaps of someone that may have been a felon before, or someone who may have some mental incapacity. But we want to be very careful of that, because mental incapacity, because sometimes that's a subjective judgment and could be used politically in some sort of way. But
there could be some discrimination, I think, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also believe that the greater intent of the Second Amendment for the American people was not just personal defense, but to defend our government, defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. And that is why, don't mess with the American people in our liberty, because at some point we may have to stand up for it. Because if you aren't willing to die for freedom, then take the word out of your mouth. Take it out of your vocabulary.
Okay, so I'm assuming that, having your father as a police officer, you grew up with a healthy respect, a relationship with firearms.
Well, I used to see it, because my father would have a Smith & Wesson police-issued revolver. But there's more than that to my father. Certainly I'm not any valor taken from my father. But my father was an airborne ranger in Korea. He was in the first Ranger Company activated after World War II. It was called the 8th Army Ranger Company. And for those who like to check, my father served. He's born in Providence, lived on the Lower East Side, played bass, acoustic bass in the high school band. But what I'm saying, when he left high school to go early, he wasn't drafted. It was a volunteer.
Oh, wow.
Because it was between the wars.
Okay.
But he was trained to be a mechanic. He was an ordnance. And excuse anyone who's looking at this militarily, if I use any wrong terms, I did not serve. But he was historically one of two of first African Americans to fight for the Airborne Rangers. In their last great fight was on Hill 205. If you look at Hill 205, Korea, the 8th Army Rangers Company was sent to hold that hill. And every morning, my father said the communists would blow that horn, and then they would send people up the hill to try to take it back from the Rangers protecting it. So what I get out of that is we have to preserve our freedom and liberty and also protect ourselves from Marxism, from communism, from collectivism, any of these isms that want to take the freedom that our founders put into our Constitution.
Do you think that there's a need to reinstate the draft?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Not at this time. And what we want to do is try to find peace with a strong American president in order to get that stability that was in the world before President Trump left. So when he comes back, and there's a possibility that he will, hopefully we'll find peace so we don't have American men and American women dying on foreign battlefields for wars that shouldn't have been started.
So there's a lot of money in war.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime there is war, someone is profiting from it. Someone
Who's
has
profiting?
Well, anyway, we have a giant military-industrial complex. We have people who work for the government, you know, the people in the military and those in the military complex, but also the people who have to sell us guns, planes, bombs, bullets, and advising and whatever. What I worry about is all the money that we've been sending to Ukraine. You see, I really don't believe in the Ukraine war. I believe that Ukraine, when you think of the Ukraine has some issues in terms of human rights, human trafficking. Ukraine is not a very clean nation in order for our cleaner nation to be protecting. And so maybe in its outset, but it seemed to me that we were pouring more money into a nation and not taking care of our own people. And this is what I'm worried about. So that war, I believe the Ukrainians will probably lose this war. And now all those, how many billions of dollars, and the question, and it's unaudited. So it makes me wonder, where is all the money going, especially with their political system, with oligarchs?
Why is it not audited?
Because the Congress, both sides of the aisle, perhaps our presidency, doesn't make it happen.
Okay.
And we need to make it happen. We need representatives of Rhode Island, Congressional District Number 1, who want those type of things to happen. And I want the people of my district to understand that I'm not fighting for the military-industrial complex. I'm not fighting even for the Republican Party. I'm fighting for them. The Republican Party is a tool in order to be able to keep us free and keep us prosperous.
Okay. So what else are you worried about?
I'm worried about things such as, I'm worried about the pushing of gender other than what we are born on our birth certificate, biological males and biological females. I'm worried about the fact that we have people within the political, especially the Democratic Party, who are pushing perhaps, I call them non-traditional and very small in the population, but making that a category. I don't believe that gender other than biological men and biological women should be an official category. I believe in love. If you are gay, you're my brother. If you are a lesbian, you are my sister. But if you belong into a political organization such as LBGTQ, you are my adversary because I want my freedom. I don't want you to push your agenda, political agenda on mine. I just want to be free to make my decisions. I respect all people. I don't go to bed with hate in my heart. I love, not hate. But that said, don't try to have put together an organization of somewhat disparate parts and then push that on me, because I think that that just changes what I consider a natural balance of things. And I'd like to leave it at that.
Okay. What else are you worried about?
Well, I am worried about the national debt. We are over $35 trillion in debt, maybe 35 trillion. 800 billion at this time, and our nation runs a budget deficit of $1.5 trillion. If anything happens,
how did that happen?
It happens because we don't have responsibility. We don't have people on both sides of the aisle that have a responsibility to their people back home. You're overspending. You're printing money. Money is money is something that needs to be valued in terms of not using it to just pile on more debt. And it's immoral to leave that debt for future American generations. This must stop. So I believe in a convention of states. I believe in changing and having an amendment to the Constitution that has a balanced budget amendment. We need to force politicians, like we are sooner or later forced at our kitchen table, to deal with the fact that we can't overspend our means. And at any given time, in the right situation, we could send America over a fiscal cliff. What if there's another currency in the world that weakens the dollar? What if there is something that goes on, another recession or depression worldwide? Anything could set it off where all of a sudden this debt becomes crushing. I mean, I forgot how many trillions of dollars it takes just to do the debt. We needed an adult in the room. And that is my promise to the people in the district, that I will be fiscally responsible. I won't just say yes to a bill that is loaded with pork. We must end what we call the omnibus, because what happens is politicians load all of these expenses in there, and they move it so fast that the people they have no clue what these politicians are doing to us.
Yeah.
And it's very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, how do you bring the bills to your constituents so that they understand what is packed into that bill?
Well, the answer is no one's doing it, because they move it too fast and they hide it and they mislabeled the bills. They say it's supposed to be for one thing, and then there's so many other things that are added in there. And how do we change that? Because it's not just one side of the aisle.
And how do we know which bills are going to go through?
We often don't, but what we have are speakers of the House and political whips that make that happen, you know. But put it this way, Alan Waters for Congress doesn't matter. I don't care if my office is in the basement next to the furnace, because that's not what I'm going there for. I'm going in there to represent the people of my district, represent my state, and represent my nation. And so I'm not looking for new friends. I'm not going there to take advantage of, like many of our congressmen, to get rich. If I come out there, you know what? There would be a nice salary adjustment if I became a congressman.
What is the salary?
It's around $175,000, give or take. That's what senators and congressmen make.
Now, have you looked at the salary of some of the Congress members and their wealth?
Yes.
Okay, and? And
many of them have special privileges that we're not aligned to, in terms of, and some of them who may already have wealth, what we call insider trading. We have politicians, which I won't mention, that are elected and in federal office right now, and their family members are making money on things that they may have some control in. And so that's immoral, legal, but not.
Right, so is it legal?
No.
Okay,
no, the answer is, obviously there is legal, because that would somebody would be in trouble. We need to change those things.
Obama put something passed a law. Do you remember that?
Well, you know, there was something that went on.
What, yeah.
Maybe it was in 2000. They were, you know, there was. I think that the U.S. Senate didn't do anything about it because, you know, quite frankly, both sides of the aisle are taking advantage. That's one thing. You know, I believe public knowledge, one of the famous or infamous young Congress people from New York, Alexandria Octavia Cortez, her last job was a barista or something, but she's worth quite a large sum, over $1 million. And how do you do that and live in New York and maybe have an apartment in D.C.? So there's some things going on, and just to have a better America, but I wouldn't see that that'll be very enthusiastic, whatever.
Could you look into that?
Put it this way, when I go, if I'm the next congressperson, talking about those values that I received, I won't lose those. I don't see myself bending or breaking. At the stage in my life, I'm not here to sell out my nation. I'm not here to behave in some way to you know, anger my God, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, so we do live in a democratic state, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so what makes you think that you have a chance at
Well, first of all, as you know, I've ran before, right? Some people might say I'm a perennial, but I said every time. When I ran against Jack Reed, that's a U.S. Senate. That's different from running against David Cicilline. People, well, you ran as a Democrat. Well, first of all, I'm not.
Oh, that's right, you
that's
did.
Right, I did.
That's right, you
that's
did.
right.
Yes.
I'm not a shirts or skins guy.
You're not what?
A shirts or skins. I'm not like I have to be in the Republican Party or I have to be in the Democratic Party, but I'm always a conservative.
Yeah, so why'd you switch?
Well, there was a couple of reasons why. First of all, I think the biggest motivation was I got 36% of the vote against David Cicilline, and I left the party, but not in anger. But I would like to say that I was actually preparing maybe for a run against Senator Whitehouse. But when David Cicilline decided that he was going to step down soon after he defeated me the previous November in the new year, I said, well, my signs are still up. I still have them in my basement. And I wanted to, well, I did. I ran as a conservative Democrat. I labeled myself a Kennedy Democrat.
Okay.
And I would like to say, not only was it a failure, but it wasn't a good fit. I believe that the Democratic Party, in general, has just moved too far to the left at this time.
Okay.
You know, and they're influenced now by people with younger legs. It's their younger, more radical progressives. And so for anyone to step up, there are people who are at least moderately conservative in the Rhode Island Democratic Party that serve perhaps in the General Assembly, and people whisper, well, they really be Republicans, but the answer is they wanted to win, and so they keep their mouth closed and they, you know, talk like a, they said, you walk like a duck, you talk like a duck, but they're still not the whole duck. You know, they're conservatively minded, because the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party of old. You know, it's not that what Kennedy, it's not even the party of Bill Clinton anymore.
Yeah, you know, so I've heard Trump referred to as a Kennedy Democrat.
He may have been, because I see him as in some ways of a hybrid. He's not a pure conservative, such as someone that might be fully defined, such as by the Heritage Foundation or something like that. But let me continue with the progression. So Gabe Amo hasn't even served a full term yet. He took over David Cicilline's seat, and how that race went last year, you certainly had some of the politicians that were more well-known, already serving office. Others, their campaigns somehow deflated, and he was able to move up pretty quickly up the ladder. So good for him. I call him lucky. But that said, I believe that he is a young more radical progressive, and I am an older conservative, and I believe that my values and the things I believe in, such as liberty, I support free and fair enterprise. I believe in capitalism, limited government, as little government as needed to keep us safe and to protect us, and to have a strong national defense. And so all of these things combined, what we want to do is not have more government and more government dependency. And all that means that more people are controlled by a controlling issue. And I'm very worried about that we're getting closer and closer to a more socialist country. And I don't want America to become that way. I want our liberty and freedom. I'm not part of a collective. I don't want a narrow, concentrated group of politicians controlling my life.
Okay. Is there anything that Amo has done that you like or don't like?
I haven't been a full study of Gabe Amo. I have just been worrying about myself. He hasn't been there that long.
Okay. I just got the signal that we've got 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So what do you want to share? What do you want to talk about in our last few minutes?
Well, some of the most important things that I see is that I'm excited about the possibilities of representing the people, because we need someone with wisdom, someone who has common sense. I'm that person that has good values. None of us are perfect, but I have these core values that I think are very important. But also, we need leaders. What we have in politics is people want to get elected and pander. I'm not a panderer, so that's very important. In the communities that I grew up in, such as I would consider traditional black community, Providence, but beyond, we need people that want, that promote self-help, that promote meritocracy, that promote education. The problem I worry about is that for a long time now, the left has controlled education from kindergarten to college. We can see what's happened just last spring at Brown University in the protests. What is in the mind of our children? We need to have children that are growing up with critical thinking skills, and let them decide what they want to be, not told what they want to be, and influence what they want to be. So there's so much work to be done, and it's a big ship, but if I, as congressman, I would want to at least try to guide us in a better direction.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm fine.
All right. Thank you for coming. This is a pleasure to meet you and speak with you.
As well.
Thank you. This is Darlene DeRezzo. You've been watching State of the State. Please find us on social media. We have a new Instagram account that's @StateOfTheStateRI.